Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Holloway. It's a pleasure having you all join us today. I'll just do a quick sound check. Just look for a couple thumbs up. Can everybody hear me okay? Great, cool. Well, it's great to see everyone here today. I really appreciate your time. Welcome to an open house event for Futures Recovery Healthcare, where we're here to highlight our RISE program. So we're very excited to talk to you about RISE. RISE is an experiential and adventure-based program. Obviously, it's a dual diagnosis treatment program offering a uniquely active approach to recovery. And we're excited to tell you all about that program today. As I said, my name is Mike Holloway. I'm so fortunate to serve as the CEO of Futures Recovery Healthcare. More importantly, I'm fortunate to work along such a fantastic team of professionals at Futures. It really doesn't matter which department we're talking about, whether it's our clinical and medical professionals, whether it's our techs, our kitchen crew, our housekeeping, maintenance, operations, finance, it doesn't matter. We all work so closely together to really put our patient first. And that effort on site is led by Dr. Tammy Malloy, our Chief Operating Officer and Executive Director, who some of you could see, she was just waving. And so many esteemed professionals on site down at Futures. So we're so thankful that you all could join us here today. Futures Recovery Healthcare, for those that you don't know, is a family-owned company. My family started the company back in 2009, and we opened our doors in October of 2012. So after a few years of trying to find the right property and the right team, we opened our doors, and here we are 9 years later, looking and feeling like we do, which is we're all very, very happy and proud for what we offer. We're constantly learning. Over those 9 years, we've learned, we've adapted, we've grown based on patient needs and feedback and constructive criticism that is provided by many different professionals. So thank you all for your trust and your input over the years to help us shape who we are. We truly are a specialty dual diagnosis program. When we look at behavioral healthcare facilities and centers, we want to emulate the best. We want to be the best. We understand we're not perfect. We're constantly learning, and we will constantly take feedback constructively and work it into who we are and what we offer. We focus on multiple pathways to recovery. We have 4 main programs: our comprehensive detox and residential core program, our primary mental health program, our concierge program for primary addiction and dual diagnosis, and what we're here to talk to you about today in our adventure-based experiential program, RISE. All of these programs have been designed with the patient first, and with the constant feedback of our professionals. Today, we're excited to highlight RISE, a program that's been in the making, believe it or not, since 2019, the fall of 2019, and has grown to what it is today, with many different contributors and inputs, including the crucial input of our assistant clinical director for Arenda and RISE, Cody Smith, who you all hear from today. So again, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of your schedules to join us here on this virtual open house. Hopefully sooner than later, we'll get back to normality and be able to do these things in person. I'm sure we're all itching to do it as we're getting accustomed and used to these Zoom interactions, but it's better than nothing. So from here, I'm going to turn it over to our National Outreach Professional and Director of Strategic Partnerships, Laura Coons, who's going to take it from here. Thank you all, and enjoy the presentation.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Coons. As Mike mentioned, I'm a National Outreach Professional and the Director of Strategic Partnerships here at Futures. I am very excited to give you all a general overview of Futures Recovery Healthcare, which will include a very brief facility tour. So bear with me while I share my screen here. I think it worked, and welcome to Futures from a drone. So Futures is a 105-bed, dually licensed behavioral health care facility located in Tequesta. I chose this view because I wanted you all to see up here on the top of your screen is Jupiter Island. And I also wanted you to see how close we are to the coastline. And then up to the top left is where Martin County begins. So we're at the very northernmost point of Palm Beach County. We are on almost 10 acres here. As you can see, we're a traditional campus style model, gated campus. And I mentioned we're dually licensed to treat both primary substance use disorders and primary mental health conditions, adults 18 and older as well. Out of the 105 beds, 87 are currently operational. And as Mike mentioned, those 87 are broken down into 4 different programs. Each program has their own staff. Each program has their own schedule. And then 3 out of the 4 of those programs have their own floor, which I wanted to show you in this shot. You can see we're 3 stories, 1, 2, 3. So on the first floor, we have our core program, which is for an individual with a primary diagnosis of a primary substance use disorder, secondary co-occurring disorder. Our second floor is for our mental health program. That is for a person with a primary mental health diagnosis with or without substance use present. Our third floor is for our concierge wellness program called Orenda. Orenda is a smaller program, only 16 beds. I like to say put concierge medicine into behavioral health care. That's what you're going to find in Orenda. That's the level of individualization specific to each person. Our fourth program is why we're all here today. That's our RISE program, which is our adventure and experiential based program. Very, very excited for you all to learn more about it. You know, in the time I've been doing this, it is a very unique program, especially for adults. So now I'm going to take you inside of Futures. All of the amenities that I'm about to show you are accessible to all of the programs that I mentioned. This is probably one of our most recognizable features of Futures, which is our Ascent statue. It's what you see when any patient, family member, or professional first walks in to our building. It was commissioned specifically for Futures. Here's another view of the courtyard. I just personally really like this photo. I feel like it shows kind of the vibe of Futures, which we hear often is very, very calm, very welcoming. We are a family-owned business. You definitely get that feel when you're there. Over here, we've got some musical instruments in the corner for patients when they're in their downtime. They'll spend time in the lobby in the evenings. This is also where visitation with family members and loved ones might occur. Next, we have our fitness center. So this is accessible by all programs at Futures. You'll often find the wellness team in here with our patients, working with our patients individually or as a group. Our wellness team is led by Dr. Ahmed Rashwan, who is a doctor of physical therapy. He has a team of very experienced physical therapists who are here 5 days a week, working on that wellness piece with our patients. Next, we will go to the courtyard area. So this pool, I just mentioned wellness. This pool is used by the wellness team for therapeutic purposes, but it's also used for recreation. Our patients can spend time here in their downtime. They don't have a ton. Idle minds are not good, so we keep them very busy. The clinical day runs about 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 at night. We have clinical programming 7 days a week. And then we offer recreational activities on the front and the back end of those clinical days. So we keep them very busy. In addition, you know, they're being taken to outside support group meetings. I definitely want to show you this. So this is a distinguishing factor about Futures. Every single, and nationally, every single patient at Futures has a private bedroom and a private bathroom. So every person at Futures has at least this to themselves, and the most that they will share will be this common area right here, because the standard room here is a double suite. So the bedroom I just showed you, add another one on this other side, that's our standard suite at Futures. We do have fully private suites in a single and a studio available for a little bit of an extra cost. Well, a lot of it depending on how you see cost. Okay, so then finally, I'm going to take you outside to show you our campus. So these are our tennis courts. I mentioned earlier, we're on 10 acres, a lot to do for our patients on this campus, getting them outdoors. This structure right here is our art therapy center. So we're doing art therapy groups. We're even doing art therapy individual sessions, depending on the patient, if that's something that's speaking to them and they're making progress with. Over here is our basketball court, our sand volleyball court. I have to show you that. Many very competitive volleyball games are happening there weekly among patients and staff. We do a morning jumpstart recreational activity on the beginning of each day and at the end of each day, and our staff and our patients have a lot of fun with it. And I wanted to end on that because, you know, we're here to talk about the RISE program. And that's really what RISE does. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our clinical director, Angela Bustamante, who is going to go take a deeper dive into the clinical differentiators. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Laura. Hi, everybody, and welcome. My name is Angela Bustamante. I'm the clinical director here at Futures Recovery Healthcare, and I have been here since 2019, so I'm coming up on 3 years. And I'm really honored to be a part of Futures and the clinical programming that we do here. In 2020, I know there was a pretty big halt with patients, with treatment centers, with the pandemic. And it was a great opportunity for Futures to take a step back and explore initiatives and see how we can really meet the needs of anybody who comes through our doors. And like Mike and Laura said, we have multiple pathways to recovery. We're not just talking about abstinence and recovery from substances here. We're invested in jumpstarting their mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional wellness. Futures Recovery Healthcare has utilized its staff, our alumni, our current patients, people like you, professionals, referents, to give us feedback, like Mike said, feedback that's been helpful in shaping what we have chosen to do and how we're doing it. I'm really excited to share a little bit about the clinical standards that we offer here and do a little summary of some of our programming that Laura and Mike had spoken about. Our Arenda program is our concierge wellness program. We have a combination of clinical, wellness, neuro, and also the medical piece. That program is really for patients who might find barriers to coming into treatment, maybe because of their social status, maybe because they're operating a business, maybe because they don't need to come to treatment, or they feel like they don't need to come to treatment. It could be because of their success. So we combine the clinical excellence, top-notch medical care, along with our neuro services and our wellness services that create a full comprehensive wellness journey while they're here with us. Our mental health program, which is one of our newer programs to Futures, newer meaning we've been open a little bit over a year, is licensed under ACA. We have that ability to treat the primary mental health issues and disorders, as well as co-occurring issues. Clinical and medical work collaboratively, comprehensively with our patients and our families on treating the primary mental health. And then there's our core program, and that's our primary substance use disorder program and co-occurring. And we've really created tracks that will promote wholeness, wellness, exploring deeper dives into underlying issues, focusing around trauma, pain. We have a track for our first responders and our vets. And then there's our RISE program. And our RISE program is a unique program that has intention behind everything we do, focusing on perseverance, self-esteem and confidence, addressing relapse prevention and those underlying issues. From stabilization and detox to completing assessments to make sure our patients are stable enough to participate in the adventure therapy. everything has intention behind what we do in RISE. Our clinical programming has themes week to week, and Cody will go a little bit more into that. The common thing amongst all the programs that I assist in overseeing is the clinical department. Not only are we following our licensing boards, insurance standards, but our goal is to provide ethical and evidence-based clinical programming coming from a non-judgmental perspective. Our clinical team is not only comprised of credentialed and licensed staff, but genuinely and compassionately treating our patients and our families. We talk a lot about our patients, and Dan's going to go more into our families because they're an important part of treatment too. From our case managers who create those comprehensive continuing care plans, to our group facilitators, our specialized clinical staff that come and provide those services 7 days a week, like Laura mentioned, to the family team providing education, support, and resources for our families, to our primary therapists who are coming alongside other treatment team members to review assessments, complete treatment planning, and come alongside the patient to create a treatment plan that they're successful with achieving. Our connection with our patients and families does not end while the patients are with us. We have a robust alumni team and service that incorporates the patient, and our family team also speaks with the families and provides ongoing support. So I'm honored to be a part of this amazing program. And without further ado, we're going to show you a short video of some of our adventure therapy, and then Cody Smith is going to take it away from there and share about the RISE program.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cody Smith. I'm the Assistant Clinical Director over the Arenda and RISE program. One of the founding members of the RISE program here at Futures Recovery Healthcare. We started this program back in 2019, shortly or toward the end of 2019, and of course 2020, right in the beginning, introduced this wonderful little pandemic thing, which allowed us actually an amazing opportunity, like Angela was talking about, where we got to step back and look at the program that we initially started and say, how can we do this better? How can we improve upon this? And with the support of Mike Holloway and Angela and all of the team, we were able to go back and do a deep dive and really look at this program and say, let's make this the most unique, most clinically driven, adventure and experiential based program that anybody can find. I like to think in the world. This is a unique program that just really builds upon the foundation of recovery that started sometimes in our other programs. Sometimes people come in directly for this one, but it's built on everything that people have already learned and how we can really implement it. When I think of RISE, I think of, almost like going back to college, right? You have your core programs, treatment centers, education. That's almost like the first few years of college, right? You're learning information, you're getting all this stuff, you're building up your skill sets. And to me, RISE is almost like your internship, right? Here's where we're going to go out into the real world. We're going to put these things into practice, put you in an environment that maybe you're going to be back into, as you go back home, and let's see how you do. Let's see what comes up. Let's see what we can do to drive home all the lessons that you've learned already through a fun, interactive, experience that just involves all the senses, all your processes, but has all the support of the clinical team around you the entire time. Angela mentioned, we have a general curriculum that we run off of, right? We've got a 6-week program built up, looking at embracing a healthy lifestyle, adopting new behaviors, overcoming challenges, building resilience, building character, and looking at some life skills and how we can implement all of these things. And those are kind of the core foundations of what drives everything that we do in RISE. Give you a little example, kind of what the program looks like overall. So the adventure therapy, the thing that most people are looking at, that are here about, we do an adventure therapy 3 times a week. 3 times a week, we're off-site. We're doing some sort of activity. And these activities, I'll have Katie, our primary therapist for RISE right now, go into some of what these activities are and how they're used and things like that. But they're built with a specific purpose in mind, right? Everything, like Angela said, is intentional. And so every activity that we do is based on the needs of the clients that we have in the RISE program at that time. We've got a vast number of activities, anything from miniature golf to jet skiing to parasailing to escape rooms, to you name it. If it's around here, we're going to do it, and we're not afraid to travel. A few weeks ago, we took the clients down and had them swim with the seals at the Miami Seaquarium. So there's a lot of different things that go on, but we look at each of these activities and say, what do our clients need? Where are they struggling? Where are they lacking? What hasn't worked in the past? What might work for them? And how can we put that into an intervention through an adventure therapy based activity to help drive home the lessons that they need to really be able to absorb what it is that they need so that they can be as successful as possible when they walk out these doors. That's our goal, right? We love all of our clients, but we never want to have to see them again, unless they're coming back for our alumni program. Then we're more than welcome to see them here. But the goal is we want to join them in their journey and help them so that they don't have to repeat this process if it's at all possible. And that's truly what we do. So we do that through the adventure therapy parts. We do it through the experiential therapies, right? So RISE is also unique because we incorporate multiple different experiential therapies every single week. So we have art therapy. We showed you the art studio, and Laura showed you that kind of the picture of it from the outside. We've got the art therapy once a week. We have music therapy once a week. We have equine therapy once a week. That one we take them off site for. We have hypnotherapy. And then we also have a weekly psychodrama class where, 2 hours of just intensive, interactive, movement-based therapy that, probably one of the most intense therapies you're ever going to experience. But it also, every person that we've had come out of those groups is like, that's probably one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life. And so we're driving home everything that we possibly can and incorporating every sense, every movement, every piece that we can really drive in there. What I've found, part of the effectiveness of this program is, as people get out and they do these things, they do these activities, they do whatever it is they're doing, it pulls stuff up, right? Where there's all this stuff that normally we can hide, we can push down, we can forget about. But those are the things that we typically need to deal with. And a lot of times when we're out interacting, doing stuff, those things start coming back, right? If you've worked with like children, a lot of children therapy with children is art therapy and drawing and playing and stuff like that, because it allows them to talk freely. It works the same way with adults. If you're out taking a hike or kayaking or anything like that, we tend to talk more. And that's one thing we actually encourage while we're out there doing that is, hey, let's talk, let's get through this, whatever we're going through, let's keep that communication going. So we're teaching the communication, but it's also amazing how much it brings out in the form of, I've seen traumas come back. I've seen, mental health issues start to pop up that maybe people were good at hiding and kind of masking, but because they're out and they're active and they're engaged like they would be back at home, those things start coming up in treatment, which gives us the opportunity then to say, okay, what else do we need to do? How can we support this? How can we address this so that those needs are met as well as they come up? It's amazing to see it happen. I'll give you one example. We had we were out jet skiing one day, and I had a lady who went out, and within 5 minutes, she's coming back to the beach, and she got off the jet ski just absolutely bawling, just crying, and couldn't figure out what it was for a second. She was like, she had lost one of her son's friends, who was kind of like her own son, had passed away in a motorcycle accident years and years before. And just that feeling of being on the jet ski and the wind blowing on her face brought back that memory. And we were able to sit down and process that right there on the beach and work through some of that trauma, so that she had actually worked through something that had been causing her a lot of pain over the course of years. And again, we see that over and over and over again in so many different ways. And I think that's just one of the amazing, powerful things about this type of a program. In addition to the adventure therapy, to the experiential therapy, we build in a lot of wellness services, right? So 3 days a week, we've got them down in the gym first thing in the morning, working with Dr. Ahmed and his team, working out, creating a customized plan for them for in the gym in order to get them healthy. Once a week, we take them off site and they do a kickboxing fitness class. So we're introducing new, type of activities a lot of people haven't done before. In addition to this, we also do, we kind of rotate sometimes in the afternoon. We've got IV therapy, where, the IV infusion stuff, where they get the fluids and the vitamins and all that stuff to really kind of build their self back up physically to help repair some of the damage that the substances have caused. We also rotate that with cryotherapy. And the float spas. There's a lot of different interventions that we're introducing people to that most people have not experienced, but they're just different ways of being able to take care of ourselves. So we've got all of this going on, and then at the same time, we've got the intensive clinical piece, right? So every therapist every client in the RISE program is meeting with their individual therapist twice per week at a minimum, one-on-one. If needed, they're in EMDR therapy every week. There's a family systems group. There's nutritional meetings. So we're looking at the whole person and trying to figure out how do we build a program around them to help them as best as possible. One thing I love about Futures, we've got both AA and SMART meetings on site multiple times per week. And once a week, as part of the RISE program, we're able to take them off site and introduce them to a local AA meeting where there's a men's group and a women's group going at the same time in the same location, but in separate rooms. And so they're able to focus not only on learning what that type of process, what that type of support group is, but it eliminates some of the distraction of the opposite sex and things like that. Very good, very solid meeting that we've vetted multiple times. And get a lot of very good positive feedback on that. So there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of activity, and before they even get to do most of these things, we sit down and we have this whole about a 7-day period, give or take a few days, of detox and stabilization. Right? We want to make sure that before we take you off site, you are ready to go physically, mentally, emotionally, all that kind of stuff. So once they finish their detox tape, or actually while they're in their detox, they're meeting obviously with our medical staff and making sure that the medical needs are being met. They're being assessed by our psychiatric team to make sure that there's, if there's a need for medications or anything like that, we're addressing those things. They're being assessed by our physical therapy department, by Dr. Ahmed, to look and make sure, hey, are there any physical limitations, so that when we go off site, we know, okay, this person needs this. So how do we make an adjustment to the activity to make sure that they can fully participate? And of course, then the clinical evaluation, where we're doing the full biopsychosocials, we're talking to the clients, we're interacting and getting a full, well-rounded picture so that we can make sure that they are fully ready to go before they leave our property in order to fully engage into these activities. Again, we do keep our clients very busy. 7:38 or 7 o'clock, they're up doing the jumpstart activity. By 8:30, they're in the gym or doing kickboxing. Then we're either doing adventure therapy or we're doing some of the experiential therapies, depending on what it is. And we keep them going until about 5:30 at night, just with all the different activities, with the different events, with the groups, those type of things. So it's not just adventure therapy, it's not just the experiential therapy. We do have them also going to some of our core groups, right? So some of the groups downstairs in that are more of the traditional groups. We want them involved in those too, because one, it builds a bigger community, but two, they need the continued education that everybody else is getting as well. So we'd love to build the whole team together and try to incorporate everything possible to throw into them at one time. The last piece I wanted to touch on before I turn it over is we work a lot on life skills, right? So every week we actually take them shopping and we give them a budget, and we say, okay, you get to have these items in your room. And obviously we're kind of looking at what those are, but hey, you get, $30. You can buy whatever it is you want, as long as it's one of the approved items. But you have to stick to your budget, right? So we're teaching those skills. Sometimes some of our clients have never had a budget before. They just used the credit card that their mom or dad gave them, or maybe they were successful enough that they were able to use theirs and they've never really looked at the budget. And so it's a good teaching opportunity. And we're obviously flexible. Some people are buying snacks or soft drinks or something like that. Some people are like, I could really use a new swimsuit. I'd like to buy that. Perfect. That's perfectly fine. Let's see how we can work that in. The same time, we've done things, well, part of our program too is we do a lot of immersion meals, right? So we're taking them out, a lot of times at lunchtime and taking them to different restaurants locally where, we may be sitting at, an outdoor tiki hut type of a place and there's people around who may have a drink or two or something like that. And we're able to sit there and just have a great time without having a drink, without needing a substance. And then able to process that at the same time and say, how did it feel to be in this type of environment, right? Because when they go home, they're going to be going to restaurants. They're going to be going out into public where these things are around them. So let's look at what does that look like? How does that feel? And what else can we do to make sure that you're strong enough that when you go home, you're ready to go? In addition to that, we've done things like we've taken our clients to tour sober houses in the area. We've actually helped people get their driver's license or different certifications that they want. We've helped them get started on GED classes or, help them find different things as far as like college enrollment and those type of things. So we really try to look at the whole person and give them a strategy for when they leave. They've got a purpose. They know what they like to do again. They know what it's like to have fun and be sober at the same time. That's kind of the overview of the RISE program. I'm going to flip it over to our program coordinator, Craig Shapiro, via video, and let him explain a little bit more to you guys.
Everybody, my name is Craig Shapiro. I am the RISE program coordinator and recreational therapist. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be at the open house, so I figured instead of explaining what I do, I can take a video and show you what we do at RISE. So my favorite thing that we get to do in RISE is that we individualize all the interventions based on our clients and our patients' needs. What I love about that is it makes it such a unique program to help everybody and how they need to be helped. One of my goals in RISE is to teach the clients that they don't need to use drugs and alcohol as a coping skill. What I love about that is they get to learn all these new activities that they can use to help overcome the adversities that they deal with. Some of those being their depression, their anxiety, past traumas, and we get to find all these creative ways to how they can help learn and cope and deal with all of them. All of the staff members on RISE were extremely passionate about helping others. There's nothing more than we want to do to see the clients improve their quality of life. We want them to learn the lessons that help them move forward so that we don't have to have them as clients again. The possibilities of the interventions we provide are endless. We're constantly working harder to come up with new activities and interventions that will benefit our clients. I'm going to pass it over to my good friend and the therapist for the RISE program, Katie, and she can explain more of what we do and how we help our clients.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm the primary therapist here with RISE. So as Craig shared, I join them on the adventure therapies 3 days a week. I'm also the individual therapist. So what's really cool is being able to see the lessons coming out and the insights our clients are gaining and be able to pull that into our individual sessions and really dig deeper and really talk about the thoughts and the feelings that are coming out. So as Craig also mentioned, we are constantly adding to our schedule of activities. I'm just going to go over a few of them. Some of them are my favorites, and a little bit about the lessons we pull from each activity. The lessons can change with the same activity depending on the group we have and what's coming up, but just generally speaking, I'm going to share a little bit. For one, we do a ropes course, which is really cool. It's a self-guided sort of rope obstacle course, zip line tour over a zoo, which is really neat. And a lot of times what we focus on is just the concept of overcoming fear. Another one that I see come out a lot with that is the importance of clear communication. You have to communicate with the person behind you when it's safe for them to start crossing that next obstacle. Another one I really like is the rock climbing. We do a rock climbing and belay course. So you learn the safety, the safety instructions ahead of time. And in traditional talk therapy, how many of us use that cliche metaphor of on the airplane, you have to put your mask on before helping the other people around you if those oxygen masks come down. But what's cool in this belay course is you really see the importance of making sure you're safe, you're set up for success. Your safety equipment is literally where it needs to be before you can check in with your partner, make sure they're okay, they're safe, and then proceeding with the rock climbing. If you don't do that, if you just rush into it, both of you are very likely to get hurt. So it's cool to see that really hands-on, real live presentation of why that lesson is so important. Today, we did an escape room. That one is always really neat to see the communication skills that have to come out, the critical thinking, working together as a team, thinking outside the box. You go in and maybe you have this idea of how to solve these different puzzles, and then you get in there and it's not at all what you expect. And so really having to work with your team, talk your thoughts out loud, take different perspectives into account. Otherwise, you don't escape. Happy to say we escaped today. My personal favorite, the kayak challenge. We do an 8.5 mile long kayak trip. That's one of the, I would say the most common lessons in that is overcoming obstacles, learning to navigate obstacles safely. In recovery, we talk a lot about identifying what are the roadblocks, what are the barriers, what are those obstacles that are going to present on that road to recovery. With this kayak challenge, a lot of those obstacles are very apparent. You can see a fallen tree as you're approaching it and have to figure out the best and safest way to navigate that, whether it requires getting out of the kayak, climbing over, or working together as a team to navigate it in a different way. Some of the other obstacles are not so obvious. You're paddling along and all of a sudden you find yourself stuck on a log that was hidden underneath the surface. And so sometimes, you have to pause and you have to figure out, okay, how do I get myself unstuck? Sometimes you have to ask for help. Again, just learning to safely navigate those obstacles. We also do a long hike that we do in conjunction with that kayak trip. So really focusing on endurance and, learning not to quit when you get tired, right? In recovery, sometimes people get tired, they get fatigued, but if they just stop, that can lead to relapse or worse. And so we really bring out that lesson of learning how to continue to persevere, to push forward, to keep a slow and steady pace instead of just coming to a complete stop. Again, communicating with your team, letting your support people know when you need a little encouragement, when you need some support. So we really see that those two activities together. It's really cool to see how those lessons come out. Another favorite of mine is the smash room. Seeing the clients get in there. Some of them have held all of these emotions stuffed inside for so long that when they first walk into traditional talk therapy, it's really hard to access those feelings, and so being able to get into that smash room and you just really see these emotions start to come out. It's a great activity for anger, for grief and loss, for trauma, and then being able to process afterwards. What were the feelings that were coming up? What were you accessing? What was coming to the surface? And that's one of my favorites to then bring into the individual sessions as well, to really, really dive deep into that. What else? Snorkeling. The snorkeling one is really cool. We get to talk about really going deeper below the surface, seeing how much is below the surface that you don't see unless you really take the time to look. I also like to bring mindfulness into that one. Really being aware of your surroundings, taking that time to just connect. It's cool. It's just a peaceful world under the surface of the water. So that one's a personal favorite. Paddleboarding, the e-foil, both of those I think connect really well with the idea of balance. How do we define balance in recovery, and how do we start to achieve and then maintain a sense of balance between recovery, life in general, work, family, social relationships, all of that. Really learning how to notice when we're a little bit out of balance and what can happen if we don't stay tuned in to that and learn how to make those adjustments to stay balanced. Beach cleanup. That one sounds so simple, but it's a cool activity to really bring in the idea of giving back, acts of service and humility. When we've done that, it's amazing to see how many random passerbys just stop and really thank us for doing what we're doing. They just see us picking up trash, and to just see the clients really light up when they get that gratitude being expressed to them. What am I missing? We have so many others. Those are the top ones I can really think of. And again, we change it as we go and based on the individual clients, but that's just a brief overview. So hopefully that covers it. And
I guess I'm up to bat. I'm Dan the Family Man. Welcome to Family Recovery. My actual full name is Dan Perzanowski, and I'm the Family Service Coordinator at Futures Recovery Healthcare. I am so glad to see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new faces. Welcome to the adventure. Brian Johnson brought snacks. So what we talk about with family recovery is this: we need to really identify and look at what the family's identified needs are, and that's where we start. And we all talk in the rooms about how important family is to the whole process of recovery. But when we look at the family systems, what we do at Futures is we start focusing on what the family trauma responses have been. Doing a family program for all of the programs was for me, it was kind of difficult to navigate in the beginning. I needed to learn how to change some language and some logistics, because I'm not just working with substance use disorder patients or just mental health patients. I'm working with all the families. So what we're talking about in our family systems service and support and education is talking about what wellness looks like for family systems. And I see a lot of you family people out there that I keep in contact with on LinkedIn, and you know what I'm talking about. We want to help a family identify, implement, and integrate. Those are Dan the Family Man's famous 3 I's. We want them to identify their core beliefs, and fears, and we want them to implement new coping strategies. And we also want to integrate those coping strategies into a long-term solution. And the coolest thing about working with all the different programs is the nuances that we can do with the family members. I'm going to tell you a RISE story. It's one of my favorite stories. When we were back doing our family forums, we do a 3-day family forum on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, one time a month. I had a couple of RISE families in, and we planned for an experiential adventure for the patient and the family member. They went to an escape room. So Katie was talking about the escape room, and it was a mom and a daughter. And they came back to process with us after they had done the escape room. And I asked the patient, how did your mom do? Because the rules of the engagement were the following. The daughter was supposed to be able to lead the entire process of the escape room. And she said, my mom struggled awfully. And I said, why? She goes, she could not let go of the control. And that's where we started to look at mom's fears. And mom broke down in tears that afternoon in group. And she said, I don't know how to let go as a mom. I don't know how to do my own self-care. So the things that we focus on in looking at families is, what are families going to do for their own physical wellness, their own mental wellness, their own emotional wellness? We have a wonderful team that I get to lead here, the family team here that reaches out to these families every day. We have support groups via Zoom until I would love to have them back in person as quickly as we can, but we do them every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We reach out to these families, whether it be via Zoom, whether it's a text message. We want to let them know that we're there. The biggest thing that we see with the family members is that they don't know just how much their loved one's problem has impacted them. I mean, how many of us in this wonderful Zoom room have been caretakers for a sick loved one? And how hard was that work that had to be put in? Our families come to us fearful, they come to us broken, they come to us traumatized, and they need just as much support as the patient does. So we need to get the family to understand what actual family recovery is, how that process begins, and how we can help them incorporate going from their fear to move to healing. And this is why I love seeing all of these faces out there. I want everybody to know it's my mission right now as Dan the Family Man. I want family recovery on every hashtag. I want the whole family process to begin. And the cool thing about what happens at Rise is that we get to be able to show them, families get to go through the adventure with their identified patient. And man, just to watch those families come back and go, I've never been on a jet ski in my life, and I got on with my son today. Or I've never gone, on a full kayak like we did the other day. I've never done those kind of things, but I was willing to do it because the RISE program said, this is what we're doing. So we did it. The cool thing about anything that happens with the adventure-based and experiential-based stuff is that it gets them to get distracted from thinking about their thinking. They're doing an activity, and as they're doing that activity, they forget that they're going to be talking about their trauma or their emotions or their feelings. And all of a sudden they come back and go, wait a minute, I just went on a jet ski ride and all of a sudden I feel better because I got to talk about all this stuff. Craig, who is a wonderful rec therapist, he's also very sneaky, and he will get them out onto a sandbar, and all of a sudden he'll be out on a sandbar from the kayak, and he'll realize that he's doing a group out on a sandbar in the middle of the Jupiter Inlet. Okay, these are the kind of cool experiences that I love about this program, since we're here to talk about RISE. But what I love about my whole job is I get to play in all these programs. Woo! Okay, I mean, this is the most fun I've had in a long time. We're changing the dynamics of the language and the logistics for the families, and we're doing it specified, individualized. So when we say multiple pathways, there's more bang with your buck. I'm telling you right now, we are doing it individualized. I was so glad because I got some nodding Futures staff members here who lured me back to doing this stuff from private practice. I'm so happy that they did, Laura Coons. And anyway, the whole thing about our family program is, how do we get families to understand what family strength-based self-care is, to move from that fear to a healing place? Man, I can't wait to meet all of you guys in person, to be able to have you show you what these things are rather than having drone pictures. I'm so tired of this pandemic, I could spit. But we all have learned new ways to cope. And that's the thing, that one of the things that we want you to know about this family program is reach out to us. Our family alumni and our family support is for both Futures families and alumni families. And soon, coming to a theater near you, I'll be coming out to do a community-based Zoom session for all families. And I do mean all families. So I thank you for your time. I'm so glad to see so many faces here. And most people know how to reach. With a name like Perzanowski, I'm not hard to find. Reach out and let us know what's going on. But I appreciate you guys coming here and being here today. Thanks.
Awesome. I'll finish up here. My name is Dr. Ahmed Rashman. I'm the Wellness Director at Futures. So Cody did an amazing explanation of kind of all the stuff that we get to do, all the services. mainly one of the main things that we start is when the clients come in, we do a physical therapy evaluation with them to be able to see the physical limitations that they have. On occasion, we do limit some of the clients from participating in some of the activities, but for the most part, we try to get everybody going in as much as possible. And even when we do have limitations, we still figure out ways for us to do things to have them into the excursion as well, so they don't miss on any of these experiences. The one thing I want to actually just hit about, because all these things are awesome that we do, we're not doing them just because they're awesome things. We're not doing cryotherapy or acupuncture or massage or any of the excursions that we are just because they sound fun. All of them and everything that within, especially within the wellness program, have a specific reason that's going to be incorporated into the recovery process. Because it's not just the physical body, it's also the brain. How is the brain affecting? How is their serotonin and dopamine? And how is the body responding with just stress, anxiety, depression, and if there's any other substances that are being utilized or have been abused in the past. So combining all those things, understanding, when the clients have an understanding of why they need to do certain activities, why they need to go to the gym. Yeah, everybody knows exercise is important, but why? How does it affect my brain? How does it affect my mood? Why is it important for me not to eat fast food or a bunch of sugar all the time? How that directly correlates to my mental health, to how I'm sleeping, how I'm exercising, how I'm moving, how all those things are related. When we understand, it makes it significantly easier to be able to address and work with some of these things. Other than that, that kind of summarizes everything that we did. Everybody did a really awesome job of explaining all the specifics that we have, and I'll pass it off to Drew next.
Thanks, Ahmed, and thanks everyone for a great presentation. My name is Drew D'Alessandro. I'm the Program Director of Specialty Programming. We want to thank the attendees, but we also want to open the floor for any questions that you may have to this point. So the floor is open for any questions at this point. And if you don't have any now, we'll provide some information where you can contact us to issue us some questions on the go forward.
I have one quick question. Is this RISE, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Is this RISE program open to the other programs that you have? Like, is it available for the executive program, the mental health, and the core? Is it incorporated in every program that you have on campus?
Yes, Cody, you want to embellish on that a little bit?
Yeah, RISE is technically a separate program. We have our own group, our own staff, but still on property here. A lot of our referrals for the RISE program actually come from some of the other programs. So we get a lot of people who will do 30 days in core or somewhere close to that, and they'll extend for an additional 2 weeks plus and do the RISE program. We are primarily licensed under substance use. We have had a couple of clients in our mental health program who also had substance use issues be able to make that transition. And then I've also had multiple people from our concierge program who have maybe been here for over 30 days that have started kind of hybriding, and joining the RISE program on some of the outings and some of the experiential therapies as well. So we try to do that, but the main thing we really like RISE to do on the campus is to reach out to everybody and get them involved both in the morning jumpstart as well as the afternoon activities, and show them what it's like to get active, to get physical, things like that.
Cool. So what you're saying is that the patients that are in the RISE program also have a space on campus. It's a separate program, but it's also integrated into other patients can utilize some form or activity of the RISE program, correct?
Yeah, we have general activities just about every day that all clients can participate in if they choose. But yeah, if they want to do the actual adventure therapy and some of the experiential therapies, then that would be part of the RISE program specifically.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah Palmer, I see you have your hand raised there.
Hi there, Sarah Palmer from Dovecot Farm in Loxahatchee Groves. It's very intriguing. It's really lovely to get some insight in terms of some of the wellness pieces that do work. And I'm just intrigued as to what hasn't worked as well. And I suppose linked to that question, how do you evaluate what works and what doesn't work?
It's a great question. I trying to think of something that hasn't specifically worked. There's always activities that some people don't enjoy, they don't connect with, things like that, you know, and so that's when we have to really step up our game as the clinicians and try to figure, okay, well, how can we take this and apply it to your life? You know, there's certain things. We actually had a client one time who was terrified of the water. You know, we're in South Florida, we do a lot of water sports, you know, but there's some underlying trauma there. And so we actually took a week specifically for that client and we slowly introduced her to the water, right? So we went parasailing. So she got the overview of the water and what it looks like. You could see through, through the water and stuff like that. Then we went jet skiing. And then finally, the last day we went snorkeling. And she was able to get in the water and she was able to go snorkeling with us. And she got out and she goes, that was amazing. I will never do it again, but I'm glad I did it. You know, and so it's those type of things where we really look and say, okay, well, how can we adjust? How can we tweak this? But how can we still make this as meaningful as possible? And honestly, I love those type of challenges. I think that's where we tend to shine, is to take something that maybe didn't go as well as we thought it was going to, or it didn't go as we had planned it. But man, isn't that life? You know, and so we teach that lesson as well. And we use those opportunities every chance we get to really drive home and say, hey, listen, we got to be flexible. We've got to be adaptable and we've got to try things and face those fears, because a lot of times those fears are really just in our head. And so let's take this and make it something where you can overcome that obstacle that's in front of you, or overcome that fear. Sometimes that fear is sobriety, right? So if you can go parasailing and you're terrified of heights, why can't you stay sober? You know, if you're terrified of the water, but you can go snorkeling, guess what? You can do the same thing with the addiction or with whatever you've got facing you as well. So that's, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. Thanks.
Well, and Drew, we're right here at 1 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and close this up. Laura Coons again. Hi, everybody. So if you have any additional questions or think of anything after the fact, please feel free to reach out to the outreach team here at Futures. If you don't know one of us, you can just email outreach@futures, futuresrecoveryhealthcare.com. And I wanted to end with an announcement. So save the date. Everybody on this call and beyond is invited to an on-site RISE adventure on Friday, March 25th. So we're actually going to be doing a RISE adventure for any of you who would want to come up, spend time with the team, really experience what RISE is all about. We would love to see some of you. You'll receive an email with more information on that. So with that, thank you all for being here. Thank you all to my teammates, and everyone have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.